What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 174 in year 4. And today we thought we weren't going to have anything to talk about, but apparently Matt Reeves has dropped a whole bunch of news regarding the Batman. And we're going to talk about that, plus a new Harley Quinn Joker podcast, which might be interesting. We're going to talk about it. And then, of course, viewer questions and comic reviews. But Clay, how is your day going, man, before we jump into this?
Not too bad, had to work today. Went by a little bit faster than I thought it was going to, so that's not too bad at all. Got all of my reading done at work.
Nice.
So that was nice. Well, half of my reading. I did most of it yesterday, and then I was like, oh crap, I still have this book and this book. So
Yeah.
I read those today. But overall, pretty good day. What about yourself?
My day's going all right. I'm trying to, I was sick for the longest time. And so now I'm starting to feel a little bit better, and I'm starting to go for like my walks again, which was something I haven't done. I need to start taking my dog out, but he's so wild at times. And I'm just like, man, do I really want to deal with you? And I've never really, I don't know, like for a dog his size, because he's pretty small, I don't know how far he can go. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to
Before
walking.
you have to start carrying him all the way back
And
home.
so I'm just like, what am I gonna do with him? Like,
So-
do I?
Question.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's not even a year old yet.
So technically, learned this when I got my dog.
Mhm.
Your dog is not allowed to go outside where other dogs have possibly been until after they're 4 months old.
Oh, yeah, he's way older than that.
Okay. But he's
He-
not 1 year old yet.
No, I think he was born in like February or April, one of those. Like, so he's
Okay.
coming up pretty close. But yeah, no, my aunt still had him at the time when he was not doing any of that. But yeah, no, he's been good. He has his shots and everything. But I don't know if he'll just like keel over and like just be there, because I like to walk a good distance. So I don't know if he's going to be cool with that at the same time. But he's also like, he's still so young that he doesn't stay on one side of me. He like runs back and forth and tries to go
Well, I was
around
going to
me.
say he probably has enough energy to
Yeah.
last that long.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would test it.
Yeah, so I got to do that at some point, but I'm just like, man, I just want to do my walk. Like, I ain't trying to walk you, but I think he needs it because he's been a pain in the ass lately. But so that's kind of that. But yeah, I've been trying to like get a little bit more into like a workout situation. I'm transitioning to working on a new thing at my job, my editing job. So that's going to be happening. And then, just kind of gearing up to launch the new channel because I feel like I've missed a lot being sick for so long. So that's kind of how my day's been. But yeah, pretty much it. But let's dive in to some freaking Batman. First, let's actually knock out the podcast stuff. So this was interesting because you dropped this in the Discord today, and it is a Harley Quinn and the Joker Sound Mind podcast that is going to be one of Spotify's exclusive podcasts that they have that deal with DC going on. And this comes from IGN, who has the exclusive synopsis of what this podcast is going to be about. It is said, we've heard Harley Quinn's origin story, the one where she was manipulated into being the Joker's Dottie, Mad Love. But what if there was more to it? What if there's a Gotham City where Harley let the Joker believe she loved him to get what she needed? When we meet Dr. Quinzel, she's fresh out of grad school, a new psychologist at Arkham Asylum, determined to help the patients her colleagues have written off. But her dad is sick and in need of an expensive life-saving operation she can't afford. Pushed to her breaking point, Harleen is tired of playing by the rules when she meets patient Jay, a manic inmate able to manipulate everyone but her. Harley makes a fateful decision to use her relationship with the Joker to get what she wants, leading both of them down a dangerous path that will change them, Bruce Wayne, and Gotham City forever. Takes on the synopsis.
So, of course, this is just the original take on Harley and Joker, but the roles have reversed.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very woman empowerment. I'm okay with it. Thing is, when it comes with stuff like this, uh, I kind of get triggered by some of like the last statement. Uh, Change them,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, and Gotham City forever. Um, I don't know why. It's something that even like comic book synopsises use. Is just like,
Yeah.
it just irks me
Zdarsky's
so much.
Zdarsky said something along the lines of changing like
Do
Batman Forever or some shit like
Do
that
you
too.
know that majority of the writers who are attached to those books write their own synopsises?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
Chip would
I
be
think
the
it
one
was
to write that.
yeah, Raphael or somebody pointed out that like, they rather have somebody overhype their book or something like that. Because I guess I don't know. I wouldn't want to super overhype my book, but I understand that it makes sales. I don't know what Raphael said. Raphael, if you're listening to this, like if you remember that conversation, I remember you saying something that you don't have a problem with it. But I forgot your reasoning. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But yeah, I don't know. I hate those sayings because I personally wouldn't want to set expectations super high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, granted, depending on how people view you personally, they're gonna set those expectations for themselves. So that's not really in your control. But I wouldn't be out here being like, it's gonna be better than fucking Frank Miller and Grant Morrison combined. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna make the Killing Joke look like child's play. Like, I wouldn't be saying shit like that, and I don't understand why people do that. But it
Now,
is what it is.
and again, with this, like, I think it was even Drew that mentioned it. Justin Hartley is going to be Batman in this.
Mhm.
So Justin Hartley has officially been Green Arrow, Aquaman, and now Batman. So I think that's pretty cool that he has now played 3 characters within the DC universe. Uh, Aquaman unofficially, technically, but I'm excited to see how he plays Batman because again, I have finished Batman Unburied. Did not like uh Winston Duke's Batman voice. Like I said,
Mhm.
he went the Bale route and was just like very scratchy and
Yeah.
and it was horrible. I absolutely hated it. So I'm interested to see how Justin takes his Batman. Um, because I have also finally watched the first part of the oh shoot, was it what was the Batman animated movie that was 2 parters? This
Oh, oh, wasn't it The Dark Knight?
no, the one
Oh,
recently,
Long Halloween?
Long Halloween. I've seen the
Yeah.
first part of Long Halloween, part 1, and Jensen Ackles being Batman, don't like his Batman voice.
I haven't seen
It
it.
because he tries too much to be his own voice. Like he doesn't really add anything to it,
Yeah,
and so it just sounds weird.
yeah.
Uh,
I think it's
so
very hard to get a good Batman voice and a good Joker voice, to be honest.
yes, very
Yeah.
much so. Really interested to see how this comes about as far as because what this is going to be at the end of this month. I
Yeah, I
think it
believe so.
said January 31st. Uh,
Its first 2 episodes were actually wait, no, no. Oh, they're talking about the Batman Unburied. Yeah, I'm not too sure when this one comes out.
uh,
Yeah, listeners will be able to listen to this on January 31st. Yeah.
yeah. So excited to get that listening in. Christina Ricci, love
Yeah,
her.
she's cool.
So I think that she will make a wonderful Harley Quinn. And I am pretty sure, like within the first day of this podcast, people are gonna be like, Christina Ricci for Harley Quinn in the DC universe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, DC Twitter is fucking stupid. From what I've been seeing a lot lately, I already saw people talking shit about this podcast though already too on Twitter. So it getting announced, it is what it is. I mean, I'm curious. The one thing I'm curious is if people are going to think this is tied to the Joker somehow because it's Harley Quinn and Joker. Because at
Oh,
first when I
probably.
saw the art, I thought it was Lady Gaga. Like when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, are they doing a podcast like to kind of introduce Gaga's character?" That's what
I
I
can
thought,
see that. I can
you
see
know?
that.
And then I was like,
Definitely.
"Oh, no, it's not," because it's also Sound Mind, it's supposed to be a musical. So I
Yeah.
was just all like, interesting." As for the premise of it, I don't care. I'm not super into these. Like, I think audio dramas are great. I haven't actually sat down and listened to them, to be honest. I will say the ones I have listened to of Doctor Who are awesome. So I don't put it past these being great. But I will say the synopsis for it doesn't. I don't really care. Joker and Harley. I feel like there's a lot that can be like still explored there, but everybody tries to go with the like empowering Harley stuff all the time. And I'm like, we have a lot of that. I kind of would like to see more of the mid part of the relationship still, like more of her being his sidekick and kind of seeing where that goes and seeing like moments of her changing of like, that's a little far, Mr. J, and doing stuff like that. And then maybe him kind of freaking out a little bit. But I get it. Everybody wants to try to do something different and try to put their stamp on these characters, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that is going to be a new podcast for anybody that wants to listen to it at the end of this year. But moving
End of
on
this
to
month, not the
end
year.
of this month. My bad, my bad. I probably won't listen to it at the end of the year, by the way. But moving on to the next thing is Matt Reeves. A lot of news about Matt Reeves today in the last couple of days. The first bit of news that he is deep into writing the Batman 2 with his co-writer. I forget who his co-writer's name is. I'm assuming it's the same one from the first movie.
I think so. It's like something Tomlin or something like that. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know the Ponderer posted it saying that I would love that. But yeah, he's he's writing the movie, but like don't forget everybody, he was writing the Batman for like 3 years. So like it doesn't mean anything that he's writing. Like and also you got to realize too when people say they're writing stuff, that doesn't mean that they're writing it every day. There are going to be days when Matt Reeves probably writes like 2 sentences. That's just kind of how writing happens. I don't know his process. I don't know if he's got the Tom King process where he drops a book every single week, which is pretty insane. I don't know if Hollywood writers follow that. What's his face that does the Thor movies? Oh man, what's
Taika.
up? Yeah, Taika. Have you heard his writing process? What
No.
he does is he'll write a script, he'll put it away for a year, then he'll come back, he'll read it, and be like, then he'll throw it away, and then he'll try to rewrite the whole script from what he remembers. That's his process because he thinks you'll only remember the good stuff, and then you build around that. And that makes sense why his Thor movies are fucking trash.
Oof.
So, but yeah,
Don't
I
like
don't know.
that.
Yeah, it's a weird writing process, but hey, he's more successful than I am, so he's doing something right. So I'll just say that, I could talk shit, but I also admit that, he is a successful man. Although his other movies are pretty cool. I just fucking hate his Marvel shit. So like maybe his writing process is good. But yeah, the Thor movies, trash. He probably didn't even write those, right? Or did he? Because I would
Uh,
assume Marvel needs to keep that train going, so they're not going to play your way of writing.
I don't think he did write
Yeah,
it. Now I can double check it, but that's not what we're talking about. This isn't a Thor podcast, Juice.
yeah. Well, I mean, every time I get the shit on that movie, I'll take it because it is fucking awful. But it is what it is. But yes, the Batman 2 currently in writing. But you posted something else about James Gunn and Batman and Reeves. What's that all about?
Yes, so it has just been posted recently that uh, Matt Reeves says he is meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran in a few weeks to discuss his long-term plans for the Batverse. So, of course, we know that his Batman movie is going to be a trilogy alongside other television shows. And then the other update that we got several months ago, well, I say several, it was probably like 2 or 3,
Mhm.
um, was that WBD and DC Studios is planning to make other villain-esque movies within this verse. That it's
Mhm.
one thing that we were kind of, bummed about because it was something that we were wanting within the DCU.
Yeah.
So we know that there's a possibility of people like Clayface, and they also mentioned by name, I believe, Scarecrow and other things like that.
Yeah.
We know that's going to be in this Matt Reeves Batverse. So they're going to talk shop and see how long this is going to be. Now, personally, this is a good and bad thing for all things, intents and purposes, because for one of the quotes was, I believe, Reeve said, and let me actually look it up right here.
I have
He
the whole quote right here on me for the gun comment.
Well, he says here, Matt Reeves says he's meeting with James Gunn, blah blah blah. They don't want to crash together. We want to support each other. Is one of the quotes from the Variety article. And I think this is a good thing.
Mhm.
We have to remind everybody we had our own thoughts on the first movie.
Yeah, it sucked.
We're always willing to, be wowed by the second one.
Yeah.
We think that we are going to like the Penguin because Penguin was the one good thing in the Batman.
Yeah.
So I think we're open-minded about a lot of different things. The only thing that is a little bit iffy with us is the fact that there are going to be multiple TV shows. Might be a little harder to follow depending on how they release. And then also, they're no longer doing the GCPD show. It's just going to be this Arkham show.
Yeah.
And we're not too thrilled about that. Either way, so them talking it out, making sure they don't crash into each other. Juice, you said it when we right before we started recording, is basically to not step on any toes. So that
Mhm.
way, James Gunn, when he tells whoever, "Hey, go make a Batman movie," they're able to do whatever they want without interfering with anything or clashing into anything that Matt Reeves may be doing in his own movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Again, I think if you're James, look, from a business standpoint, you keep the Batman universe going, right? Because it made a lot of money. Like, I
yeah,
understand that. But I just personally don't think it's smart to have multiple Batman because here's what's automatically gonna happen. And you see this every time in any kind of thing where you have something of the similar style, right? We're gonna have two Batman. If the DCU Batman comes out and it's awesome and it's blockbustery and like it has like actual Batman heroes, people are gonna love that thing and they're gonna automatically talk shit about the Batman. You know what I mean? I rarely think we are gonna get two camps of people that love both of them. You know what I mean? Because more than likely, we're gonna enjoy the DCU version of Batman, right? Unless they try to make it realistic and have two realistic Batman, which would be so stupid.
yeah,
Um,
it would be horrible.
we're probably going to be in one camp. There are going to be people that love both because there are people that love everything DC does and they won't comment any bad things about it. And then you're going to have people that think the DCU version of Batman sucks and they only like the Batman. I think that is not something you want there. You don't want to divide your fans. And so I personally, if I had the things, I would have killed the Batman. But that's just because I also didn't like it. But if you're rebooting a whole universe, fucking reboot it all. You know what I mean? Be like, oh, hey man, at least you had that one good Batman film, right? Like that's awesome. Or I
Yeah,
would move the Batman to being HBO Max only. We're not going to do movie releases. You can finish your stuff, whatever. But we didn't give Snyder that. So I would say, fuck Reeves. Sorry, bro. Go join Snyder. Like it's what's going to happen. Your fans can cry too and start petitions. Like it's just what you would do. Like I think that's what you should do. But they're not going to do that because it makes money. Same way they're not going to just kill the Joker because they're like makes money. Both of
yeah,
these are only two successful films we've had in the last like decade. It feels like. So granted, they've had other successes, but it feels like it's only those two that are talked about. Nobody talks about Aquaman. Made $1 billion. It's the best DCEU film, that's money wise.
yeah,
So so I don't know. I just think I hope Gunn is like, hey, I know you want to do that Arkham show. You're gonna have to dial it back because I know you're gonna try to introduce a bunch of characters in there, and we don't want that. like, hey, you want your ugly, scarred face Joker? That's fine. We're going to make a better one. We'll deal with having 2 Batman and 2 Jokers. Clayface, not going to happen. Sorry. We're getting that. You're not fucking getting that, because what the fuck are you going to do? Have a guy with prosthetics on his face? Not going to work. Do something else. Do crime bosses. That works better in your build. Like, that's what I hope James Gunn is doing. I'm hoping he drops the fucking creative dick on there and he's all like, you're gonna listen to me. You know what I mean? Because I don't want like 2 Two-Faces, 2 fucking Riddlers,
And
2 like
here's the thing that I am scared of. I'm scared of the exact opposite of, well, it's the same and the opposite.
mhm,
I'm afraid that Matt is going to get the uh greener side of the grass. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side.
yeah.
I think Reeves is going to get the greener grass in this deal, in this new
Mhm,
contract, whatever you want to call it, and that he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And my problem is the same issue that we've gone over this over and over again. Reeves has already introduced a Riddler.
yeah.
He is he introduced a Joker. I am pretty sure he's going to introduce a Two-Face.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
already introduced Penguin. You
Mhm.
know, he's already introduced a
Catwoman.
lot of quote unquote Catwoman classic characters.
Yeah.
The easiest big time street level characters. That's what
Mhm.
he's created. And the one thing that we've said in comics is everybody wants to play with those characters
Yeah.
because those are the characters that we grew up with, especially, you know, going all the way as far back as Batman 66. They were all over the place. People are attached to those characters, so they want to write those stories. My problem is DCU is going to want to play with those characters as well.
Yeah.
And we're just going to regurgitate these characters over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And if, not saying I will, but if I don't end up liking the Batman 2 and or whatever title it gets,
Mhm.
or 3, but they introduce characters that I would have really enjoyed in a more fantastical sense, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll eventually get them in the fantastical sense. But I'm like, oh, well, the Batman kind of already soured my
Yeah,
thought
that could be a
on
problem.
this character in live action.
Yeah.
You know, I can always have the mentality of like, well, at least I get him in the DCU, yay.
Yeah.
But it all depends on my first reaction. You know, I
Mhm.
can't predict that. And I think that
Yeah.
might be a problem.
That is a problem. I mean, look, you just need to look at the Snyder cultists. They love nothing but Snyder. Any new Batman, anything like that gets shit on. It doesn't matter because Snyder didn't fucking suckle on the teat of that character, so it doesn't matter. They're just like, nope, Snyder didn't create it. We don't like it. And granted, you can sit here and say it's a vocal minority, but like they're pretty fucking loud. Like
Yeah.
my Twitter is just I try to mute every hashtag and say not interested, and they just make a new one. They're like, oh, Juice has muted all of them. We got to make new ones. Like I'm just like, bro, how? Like, and it's just
I learned that you can, if you hold on to a hashtag,
yeah,
a drop down menu will appear and ask if you immediately want to mute it.
yeah. But they just make a new one, Clay. They're like cockroaches.
Yeah, but then I just mute it immediately.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Uh so
But it's like they know. They're like plugged in. They're like, he muted it. We need a new one. Like that's what happens. Like it's so crazy. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think the smart run would be to cancel it, but we're not living in that world. So I just hope that Gunn is going to tell Reeves, like, look, I want to give you creative freedom, but you can't just use everybody. Like, I'm not going to allow that because we need to have some diversity to where people like your stuff and our stuff. But if you're using Riddler and everybody over and over, and we're not able to use some of these mainstay characters, it's going to be a problem. And so I'm kind of
well,
hoping that's what the meeting's going to be.
and I do think, and here's something else. I do think that they're both going to be using characters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But something that you had said again before we started recording was due to Reeves's process and how busy he is, we may not see these characters for several years, and then they all of a sudden show up in the DCU first.
Yeah.
That is our shining light in this scenario, is that we can get them possibly in the DC
Yeah.
universe first. And what we're going to see, and I'll probably mute or block them immediately, is the people that are like, oh, well, Matt Reeves did it first. Or,
Yeah.
oh, well, the
Yeah.
DCU did it first. I'm just like, shut up. The comics did it first.
Yeah, and then behind all those people, well, Zack Snyder's 5-year plan was actually going to branch out into this.
Shut the fuck up.
It's what they're going to do till they die, man. I'm telling you. They have nothing else to live for, it feels
Shit.
like. The thing is, too, is the one thing, if you are somebody like us who didn't like the Reeves verse, you could probably put your hopes into that universe is only going to go to a trilogy. So I don't think Matt Reeves is going to let it, and not Matt Reeves. I don't think Gunn's going to want it to go past that. They'll be like, no, you're good. We'll stop at a trilogy.
But see, again, money talks. And that's what I fear also, is that this won't end after a trilogy.
No,
And
I
then
think it
just
does.
keeps going.
I would probably place a bet on that. Depending, even if it is making like super big stuff, one of those people in that movie is gonna stop. Like, yes, Robert Pattinson said, like, oh yeah, I'd play Batman as long as no, you won't. No, you won't. That he's gonna try to chase Oscar bait and all that kind of jazz in the future. He's into the art house films and all that kind of stuff. He's gonna want to be like a Brendan Fraser, kind of playing those roles that people are like, oh shit, you know, he wants to follow in Christian Bale, probably wants to win an Oscar, do all that kind of stuff. You can't do that when you're Batman. Like,
you know what?
ain't-
Do you know what I could see?
So-
I could see Matt and Gunn having a conversation of, hey, you will do this trilogy until we have a crisis. Pattinson will show up for this amount of time in our movie. And then when your trilogy is over, we'll give you a movie within our universe. Not necessarily Batman.
Yeah.
But I could see them saying, hey, if you want to play ball and join our universe, you can do that.
Yeah. I don't want multiple Batmans on screen. Like, we're already going to get it in Flash, right? That's more than likely. I don't know. Was that rumor said that they don't share screen time, right?
There was a rumor stating that Keaton and Affleck do not share a scene together.
Okay. So maybe we won't. But I just, it's going to be that stupid, I'm Batman. No, I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm hoping that it's not. If anything, what I hope it could be is both Superman and Batman have both had comic panels like this during the times of crisis, or like during a multiversal story, is like when they're like holding their head and like screaming, and then you just see like a weird kind of like panel wave of like all the different versions of Batman. And so that way it would be like they're all there, but they're not all there, you know?
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool.
That'd be better, as long as they don't interact.
I was going to say, or if you do it like the DC animated universe, Justice League Unlimited, there was an episode where they went and there was like a big type of like time
into the future.
Yeah, and like Green Lantern kept changing into the different versions of Green Lantern, and other characters also changed. You could do that with Batman. You know, you have the DCU Batman, and then all of a sudden he like shifts into Pattinson, and like everybody acts like nothing has changed or nothing is different.
I mean, the way Unlimited did it with Batman Beyond, I think it was Unlimited. Maybe it was Batman Beyond, where old Unlimited Batman met Terry McGinnis, but also met himself.
Yes, that was another thing. That was. I think those are. Oh, it was the same. I think that was the same episode. I think it was like a 2 or 3 parter. Yeah,
that worked. Well, I think I don't know if Green Lantern was changing in that I remember, but I know he met his son, which was a Hawk and Lantern type thing. Yep.
There was a moment, kind of. I know might be a little triggering for people, but Jon Stewart did literally change into Hal Jordan in that episode. A black man turning into a white man.
Cartoons. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, man. I actually do not want to see Pattinson's Batman in the DCU. Let's just cast a new one. Let's keep them separate and let them play in their own different sandboxes. I just don't want to see, I don't want to see we'd have 3 Jokers at once. Like, I don't want that. I don't want, 2 Two-Faces. I don't want 2 Clayfaces or whatever. Like, Matt Reeves, if he decided to play in the realistic sandbox, give him realistic characters to play with. You know what I mean? Don't come change him. We have plenty of realistic characters that he could use in his universe. Professor Pig can be one whole movie. Like, that's literally a great villain for Matt Reeves is.
Yeah.
Use him. Dollmaker, use him. Fucking Zaz, use them. Like, you have so many realistic characters that you don't need to make a realistic Freeze, realistic Clayface, all of that kind of stuff. I don't want it. I don't know. Other people are gonna be like, well, his eyes actually had computers in them, so technically that's fantastical. So you can play Clayface. Fuck out of here. Hate Twitter. Anyways, I think that is everything when it came to
let
news.
me double check here. Because one thing that it's itching at the very edge of my skull, Juice. We're getting an announcement in the next, what is it?
It's gonna be towards the end of the month because
in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Within 2.5 weeks time, we're going to get an announcement. I just don't know when, and it's kind of bothering me.
Well, Gunn, I went and checked Gunn's stuff today, and somebody was like, "Hey, my birthday's on the 14th." Shitty birthday. 15's better. They were like, "My birthday's on the 14th. Can I get a DC Slate announcement?" Which Clay tried to do this too.
Oh, I totally did. I was like, "Hey, just so you know, today would be the perfect time to do this, James Gunn."
Yeah.
And
Gunn
then
replied,
he joked around. He
replied,
like,
for a late birthday present, sure. So it's gonna happen after the 14th.
And then there was like 3 different news outlets that were like, James Gunn has confirmed DC Slate will drop on the 14th. I'm just like,
you don't know how to read.
Come on, people. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. People don't understand what a late birthday present is. It's something that you don't get on your birthday because it's late. Stupid. This is why I think, like, to run a website, I feel like people should go to journalism school because holy shit. But yeah, so I would assume if I had to put if I was Gunn, I'd make everybody wait till the 31st.
I would totally do it
just to be a dick and be like, I said January.
The greatest thing about the 31st, though, Juice, is now that DC has changed the date that their books release, it would be DC Tuesdays. 31st would be a Tuesday. It would work perfectly for synergy and everything else.
Yeah.
So I think it would be smart. But I did write in the Batman News Weekly channel in the Discord because we didn't have any news at the time. Do you think there are any Batman related titles and or content with his announcement? And if you do, what do you think they are?
I think Gunn is going to do something different to introduce it's not going to be the Batman, you know what I mean? It's not going to be like Batman whatever. I feel like he's going to use the Batman movie to introduce a bunch of characters that fight one villain or something, right? Like, I think that's what it's going to be. I could see Gunn, and it's interesting because we're getting this coming out this year. I could see Gunn doing Batman the Brave and the Bold. I could see him doing something like that. Or I could just have a movie like Batman the Bat Family or something like that. Like, something to introduce a bunch of other characters, I think is what he's going to do. He's not going to have a solo Batman movie. He could even do like Batman and the Outsiders to introduce the Outsiders.
See, the thing is, I think the Outsiders is right up Gunn's alley.
Yeah.
I definitely think something like the Outsiders would be something that
now the Outsiders that we've read before, which is like Black Lightning and all that kind of stuff, or the Outsiders that Tom King's writing in Danger Zone?
No, not the one that Tom King is writing.
You never
More
know.
on that later today.
You never know.
No, I'm talking about the Outsiders, the title Batman and the Outsiders. And it was not always Black Lightning and these characters. Outsiders has had a slew of different characters. But we always see that of like a Nightwing, a Katana is always usually on there. Recently, and I think like early 2000s until now, Black Lightning was a character originally on there. I don't know if he was originally a part of the Outsiders when it was first created though.
Mhm.
I'll have to look into that actually. But yeah, I think that would be very different. And if you do that, you could then introduce somebody like a Duke Thomas
Yeah.
on screen. God, I
Could you imagine
want.
if he did Batman Robin War? Like, that would be wild.
Well, actually have a question for you.
Mhm.
Um, in regards to, because I don't know, is it a question
I just
on?
hope it's not Court of Owls. Please don't give me that gun. Do not give me Court of Owls right away.
Okay, so it's not a question. Oh, actually, I think it is a question on the Discord.
Uh,
Um, let's see here. Okay, so actually, the Ponder asked the question that I wanted to ask you. So I
okay.
will wait until we do listener questions,
All right.
and I will, a little bit of synergy with that. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of Batman related content is coming out this month as far as that announcement goes. Um, I still think that he will announce both TV and movies, but I think because he said he's only going to share partly,
Yeah.
um, I think we get at least one Batman related piece of content.
Yeah, you have to. He said he's a big part of the DCU. So,
Yeah,
and he said that about Superman, obviously. He said Superman is the top priority, if anything. And so, yeah, I think, you know how much of a backlash there would be if he didn't announce that Batman was part of the first part? Like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, what the, you're not going to use your biggest character?
and
Like,
also I just want to say this again. I'm pretty sure we've mentioned this before, but I see more and more people on TikTok thinking that this is an actual real thing. Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot are not attempting to sue WB and James Gunn. Okay.
yeah.
It is
Oh my God.
so stupid to see this. I don't know why people are falling for this. I don't know why that just popped in my brain, but
Yeah.
it almost like gets me physically angry whenever I see somebody being like, "Oh man, I can't believe I saw this," and I think they really have a case. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, this
Oh
is
god.
why I wish American education was better than it is because we're pretty dumb. TikTok has showcased that. You know, TikTok in other countries is not as bad as America's, right? Like America's has like no filter, and like in China where they created it, it's like all educational and shit.
Well, I saw that like apparently, I'll have to test it. Abby sent me uh a video of the CEO saying
Mhm.
like, "Oh, my kids don't have TikTok."
Yeah,
But for all those parents who do have their kids have TikTok, here's how you,
the parental
filter
controls.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like, "What the hell?
yeah.
It actually has parental controls? That's
Yeah,
oddly."
it's ridiculous. I my dad watches TikTok a lot and he's like, I need to delete this app. I'm like, yeah, join the club. I already did it. Like, I have not been on TikTok. Like, I don't get on TikTok. I got on the other day to like start privating a bunch of videos because I just wanted to have the good videos on there because I don't think I'm gonna use it anymore. Especially with like YouTube shorts becoming way better and they're starting to pay people now. I'm just like, oh yeah, TikTok's like on a timer now. Like they need to like really start producing more shit. But I don't like TikTok anymore for the sake of one, a lot like 99% of takes on there are fucking terrible. Like
Yeah.
they're not thought out. They don't have like substance or any like real validity behind them. It's just people talking out of their ass. And two, I don't like how everybody just steals content and you can't find the original anymore. Like I hate that. And I'm like, I'm gonna stick on YouTube. Like, it's just it is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's poison. I can't stand half of the shitty takes on TikTok. I'm just like, I gotta delete this app. It's making me get a migraine. But because like, man, some of the Batman takes on that fucking app are
Oh, Jesus.
horrible. But anyways, let's move on to viewer questions. Let's actually do, since you had a question from Discord, let's just do that one first.
Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna bounce off the Ponderer's question. So the Ponderer Ethan asked if they wanted to introduce Robin, which Robin do you think they should introduce first? Should they introduce Tim Drake's Robin so that Dick is already Nightwing and Jason at least already is dead so that you can do the Red Hood storyline? Or should they just start with Dick Grayson?
You have thoughts on this? You want to hear me answer it first?
I want to hear you answer this because
Oh.
this was basically my question. I didn't read it
Okay.
completely, but I kind of see what he was going with. So I want your answer.
I think it would be smart enough to start with Tim Drake, but I would start with Damian. But the reason why I think you start with Tim Drake is because it would make sense to be able to see Tim Drake grow and still be Red Robin or whatever as he gets older. And then you can introduce Damian later as a child. And that way it's like, okay, Robin has been kind of young for multiple movies. It's just a new Robin. And then we can leave it at that. But if you start with Damian, you have the Shazam problem. He will be old by the next movie.
True.
And there is no Damian future character. He's just Batman 66 or 666.
I mean, if you go technically it's on a different Earth, but if you go the route of Batman Beyond, he is the demon in the future.
Well, technically, it just all got retconned and said that Damian always becomes Batman 666. They had that stupid story that came out recently that there is no difference. Like Damian is like, that is like a fixed point in time, which I think is fucking dumb.
Wait, even within the Batman
No
Beyond?
matter what, he does that on every Earth in every universe.
When was this?
It was a stupid story we didn't pay attention to. It happened. Like they retconned that shit. Like it's what happens.
Wait, well, was this a part of Mark Waid's stuff when he gave him basically the Batman 66
Probably.
outfit?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. It's in the dialogue. They don't show, they say, or whatever. Like it's some bullshit. Yeah.
I have to go back. I have
That
to go
doesn't
back and look
change.
at it.
Like he is Batman 666 on
I
every
don't
Earth.
like it. Nope.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Because again, if you read Batman Beyond, I can't remember who the writer was. But just like the actual design, the costume design and everything with Damian as the demon being older looks so badass. I think it should happen. But in the same way that the MCU used to, they don't do this anymore, but I think that it's a smart idea to do it with children. Is to have them cameo in several movies that are currently filming all at the same time, even though they are being released later, to at least show them as the same age or around the same age for a good part of a phase, right?
Okay.
And so that way you can still keep like that innocence or the youngness of whoever is playing Damian. And the thing is, I'm gonna go ahead and go with you with that. I think Damian should be the one that is introduced as Robin.
Yeah.
And not even introduced as Robin. I think in your same light, I think you introduced him as Robin. And then the one thing that I want to be copied from the pages of Batman to see on the big screen, when they introduce Damian, he has this long sleeve collared shirt with dress pants and he has a freaking sword.
Yeah.
It's from Grant Morrison's run. I can like remember the splash page vividly. I want that on the screen. Just like this menacing kid with a freaking giant ass sword. And him saying like hello father. Like
you don't need to. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Well, I just think that would be badass.
Yeah. No, I'd be cool. My thing is just the Shazam problem is kids age so fucking fast.
Yeah.
So like it's well like young men, right? Like young men can be little and then one summer they're fucking gigantic, and it's just like what happened? Like goddamn. So that could be a problem, and I don't know what they would do if they if they knew that they were going to record a bunch of movies and like we could use Robin in a bunch of these movies. Yeah, because that's kind of what they did with. I mean, technically they got babyface Tom Holland. Like he could still shoot young stuff right now. Like it's
Yeah.
because it's what he looks like. But unless you're gonna be able to find somebody like that for Damien, I don't know if that's gonna work out. So yeah, I don't know. But I do think if you want to introduce Damien later, I would start with Tim Drake. That way, as he gets older, he can maybe become that. What was that character where he falls through time?
Oh, yeah.
You
I knew
know,
you were gonna bring that up.
like Mr. X or some shit like that. He had an X on his face.
Yeah.
But I remember, but that was a cool storyline. Like, bring that back. I don't know if you bring that in the DCU, but it's an option you could do, right? Like, he could fall through time, or he could be that guy. But I thought that was an interesting like character for Tim Drake to become. So, like a future Drake, I should say.
Savior.
Yeah, the savior. So like, and I don't know why they never finish that storyline. I don't think they finished it, but he was supposed to go through like all of his family's timelines to try to fix everything, which I thought was an interesting story. Maybe they did it and maybe it sucked and that's why I don't remember it. But I don't know if that ever got finished. So I just remember him falling through the portal at the end of that story and being
Yeah,
like,
I'll
I'll be
have
the
to follow
savior.
the thread.
Yeah. So anyways, that would be an interesting thing that he could become later, or he could become that Robin that has the cape and the weird the like what is it, the cow without the pointy ears, like the
Yeah.
Robin. What was he called?
Red Robin?
That's what it was. I don't remember the name, but like I always figured it should be something different, like because that suit reminds me like he's like a falcon kind of because he has the fucking, it looks like a blackbird because of the cow with the cape. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you would do that. That way you introduce Robin later, and that way he could, there can still be a Batman and Robin. But the question becomes later, what does he do when he grows up? What is he? Is he just an older version of Robin? Like, Damian doesn't have a future character yet except Batman 66 or 666. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, that's a problem you deal with. At least like Tim Drake, you could put him into like something in the future. He could just be Drake and Josh. But like it just, I don't know what you want to do with that. But I would not do Dick Grayson or Jason Todd. I think they should just start as Nightwing, and maybe you bring in Red Hood for one of the movies. Maybe he comes in and he starts fucking shit up, and you introduce Red Hood that way because he could be a good villain for a Batman.
Yeah, I will be completely honest. If you could make a better Red Hood story than Titans did live action, please do. Please do. Erase that from existence.
When you have a child become Red Hood, like it's just not ever gonna work out. It was a Party City child's costume. Like I cannot believe they put him in that. Like I don't know, man. It was terrible. Clay's dying on camera right now. Sorry, guys. That got him. Party City got him. It's over. But anyway, so that's what I would do. We do have another question from Arwitz. For the new Batman in James Gunn universe, would you be interested in seeing a more horror-like Batman for the first phase? We talked about this a million times, I think.
We have talked about this, but specifically for the first phase, I'm gonna say no. It's hard to say that because it's something that I really want.
James Gunn would love to do that.
Because for me, I was thinking about this question last night and this morning. For me, when I think of like the perfect Batman, I think opposite of Superman.
Yeah.
Superman is bright, he's hopeful. Batman is dark, he's depressing. Again, we are seeing the lighter sides of Batman, recently, and we want to see the lighter sides of Batman. I'm not saying I don't. But when it comes to things that people have kind of just like given up on, it is kind of like the horror aspect of Batman.
Yeah.
We don't see a lot of the interrogation stuff anymore
Mhm.
when it comes to comics. I
Is
think
that horror though?
no, but like putting fear into people, that's
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
Mhm.
We say the first 10 minutes of the Batman is the best thing about that movie, and
Yeah.
that was all about horror.
Yeah.
The
The
darkness
fear.
of the
Yeah.
alley and the fear and all of that. Like, that's good stuff. That's what we want to see. But because it's the first phase, it's trying to win back audiences that just think that DC films are embarrassing. You
Mhm.
can't do that kind of thing. That's too experimental. And
Yeah.
so I would say do some other stuff first and then make something to where Batman has to go back to his quote unquote roots. And I think that could be fun.
Do you think Gunn would give us an underwear Batman?
So I saw this person post a very classic picture of the Justice League,
Mhm.
and they said that they think that everybody except for Wonder Woman will get a classic costume.
I think Batman with trunks could work, like an updated version. But do you think they give Superman his trunks? So you
100.
said everybody but Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I
Why?
I don't want it, but I think they will.
Dude, I'm so used to it in comics already. Like since they brought it back from New 52, I love it. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And sans Zdarsky being, I got to give him utility. I've been down with it. Again, Tom King brought it back. Shout out Tom King for that. Oh, you always looking at me. People always me talking about Tom King too much, but he brought it back. I love the classicness. How did Superman get his back? Bendis just did
Um
it.
yeah, Bendis was like, "Oh, look, my old
Underwear.
costume.
Yeah.
Yay."
Yeah, he didn't have a purpose for it. He just brought it back. Like Batman was like
Actually,
got
if I had,
destroyed.
you know what it was? I think it wasn't Bendis. I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe it
No,
was.
I'm pretty sure it was Bendis brought his underwear back.
No. Because you know what? You're right. You're right. It was
Yeah.
Bendis because
They made a big food
uh
blob.
Tomasi and Jurgen still had like their like new rendition of the new 52 suit.
Yeah.
And it was
Because weren't
still
they a double Superman thing?
yeah,
Where it was
it
like
was
Superman versus Superman or some shit? Like, because one
uh
was red and one was blue or some
yeah,
weird
they were
bullshit.
the pre New 52 Superman
Yeah.
had fallen into the New 52 universe and
Yeah.
they eventually became one. But yeah, Bendis did bring back the trunks, but there was no reason for it. It was just like,
Well,
hey,
why wouldn't Wonder Woman have a classic suit? Because hers is like the 70s version.
the
That why?
bikini bottom, like the
Yeah. Okay.
very like
Yeah, that
you can
makes
see
sense.
nothing
That
but
makes
leg.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I like her skirt better. The skirt is a better design. But it would be, yeah. I wonder if, yeah, I don't know if that outfit would look good. That wouldn't look good on Gal Gadot, I don't think. Because she is a very thin woman. I don't know if
I
that would.
will be completely honest with you though. I am actually very surprised we have not seen Gal do like some sort of photo shoot with a classic costume.
That
Not
is
in like
true.
a not in like a like sexual way, but just
Yeah.
like,
No, just
hey,
a
I'm Wonder Woman,
classy.
you
Yeah.
know. I'm very surprised they haven't attempted it.
Yeah. Actually, I am very surprised by that. Because I think that would sell. Like that'd be like good posters and good shit like that. I'm surprised they didn't work that into one of the movies. Like,
Mhm.
like Wonder Woman just being because she was trying to become better, like a better part of the society or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then again, we've only had period pieces with her, so that's probably part of the problem. But anyways, yeah, I wouldn't go with horror Batman in the James Gunn universe, but you could do characters having a perspective of him being scary, and it would still
Yes.
work. So
Yes. Very much so.
I would go with that. Vinny says, my question is, why are you slipping? Unbelievable. The one thing I look forward to, and this man is slipping.
2 weeks in a row, guys. I have completely forgot to drop the question for questions. Juice has reminded me
Yeah.
twice. So I will be better about it. Not starting off 2023 very good, but I promise I will have it next week.
All right. And then moving on to the YouTube questions. Eduardo de la Cruz. If Batman said roast me, what would you say? I saw this question and I'm like, I just don't think Batman would be the type of person to care. So, and those are the worst people to try to roast. Like,
Yeah.
it's only funny when you get a reaction out of somebody, and Batman's not going to have a reaction. He's going to be like, okay. You know, like, he's not going to care. He's just going to walk away. And you're just like, fuck. And that makes you look bad.
True.
So,
I feel like, though, in that of like a Justice League Unlimited, like an animated series, like they've said some funny things and he has reacted a little bit,
yeah, he's got
but like,
scowled.
yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know what I could tell Batman to even attempt to roast him, though.
Have you seen the it's like Justice League Unlimited, what do they call it? Abridged, where people do like funny shit, and it's
Oh shit!
like,
They did an abridged version of Justice League Unlimited.
so it's just somebody doing voiceovers, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like it's Batman in when he got thrown up, like, I don't know what happened in the actual show, but he's like in a hospital bed and Superman saved his ass. He's all like, sit your punk ass down. I didn't say you could get up. He's like, man, you always making fun of me, man. Like, it's so funny, dude. Like, they're just all like, Flash and I think Martian Manhunter are talking shit to me, like, man, you gonna let him punk you out like that? He's like, no, man, I'm gonna go take care of this. And like, he's like, Superman's just like punking his ass out. It's funny, dude. Like, you just gotta search it up, but like, it's he's like, I could have gone out there and done that shit. But I figured it'd be something like that would be funny. But for the most part, I just don't think you can roast a Batman. You know, some of the best ways you roast Batman are like just like proving him wrong or something. Like, I know Wonder Woman had some good one-liners when he wouldn't fucking go out with her or whatever, you know. So there was stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, I don't know how I'd roast him. Jason Todd, in another world, would you have rather seen a Jim Carrey, Tim Curry, or Johnny Depp Joker? Out of those three, Tim Curry is awesome. I just don't know if Tim Curry would be a great Joker. I'd probably go Depp out of that. Carrey's amazing, but I don't know if I don't know about his Joker.
See,
because he did a great Riddler. I liked his Riddler a lot. You know,
Curry did Riddler.
Jim Carrey did Riddler.
Oh, Jim Carrey.
Tim Curry,
yeah.
was the fucking It, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was It. And he was Nigel Thornberry.
Oh, nice.
I think he would be too much. I think Jim Carrey would be too much as a Joker.
Yeah.
I think he was good for Riddler for the time that they made the movie. Even though freaking what's his name freaking despised him. Played Two-Face. Freaking
yeah, I know who you're talking about. I forget. I'm blanking on his name too.
And Johnny
he lives in our
Depp,
city.
See, I will say this: if I had to choose between Johnny Depp and Jim Carrey, I think I would choose Jim Carrey as Joker.
Okay.
But if I had to choose between Jim Carrey and Tim Curry, I think I would choose Tim Curry as the Joker.
Really?
But I would choose like 70s and 80s Tim Curry. By the time
like horror picture show.
Yeah, by the time we see Tim Curry in like Home Alone, he still got it, but it's just like, you know.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
I think Depp is pretty versatile, like especially pre Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Carrie would be a little too much. Like I watched The Grinch over the holidays with my niece, and I'm like, damn, he's so good, but he is like out there, man. Like, it's what makes him great. He is one of my favorite actors, if not my favorite actor of all time. But he gives you 110%, which it's just what I love about him. But I just don't know if I could see him as the Joker. By the way, I was watching some clips recently of Batman 89. Anybody who talks shit on Nicholson's Joker fucking doesn't understand like the Joker at all. Because he was such a good fucking Joker, but everybody's just like, he was just Jack Nicholson. Like, yeah, his voice, he's the fucking actor. Of course, he didn't put on some crazy voice like Heath Ledger. But dude, if you go back and watch that movie, he did like
It's
animated
terrifying.
series. Yeah. Like he was Joker. Like
Yeah.
he did the handshaking thing, he did the hand popping off thing. Like he had jokes. Like
Yeah.
he was fucking great. And I think people are just so brainwashed by Heath Ledger and now like, of course the Joker versions that they're like, "Oh yeah, he's not even comic book accurate." I'm like, "You're stupid. Like you don't fucking read comics, you just watch TV, you idiot." Like it blows my mind. I'm like, just go. I just watched the final fight scene, and there's so much Joker in that alone. And it blows my mind when people say like he was just Jack Nicholson. Well, no shit, he's an actor. Blows my mind. But anyways, next one. This is the new thing we get every week is these versus questions. But a different one this week from Nathan though says, since no one has done a versus question yet, here I go. Alfred versus Jim Gordon, Red Hood versus Hush, Nightwing versus Catwoman. Who you got?
Alfred versus Jim Gordon. I'm gonna say Alfred.
I'd agree.
I would go Alfred. Red Hood versus Hush.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Juice is like, I know the right answer, Clay. Not
no, actually, this
not
one
my
be...
opinion. I know the right answer,
yeah.
Clay.
I mean, I know who I'm going with already, but I think this is a toss up. I think you could pick either.
I think you could pick either. And the thing is, whenever it comes to Hush, we only have classic stories. Now, again, he has been used somewhat recently in random stories, but
the last random story I read with him was the wedding side stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I mean. He isn't a character that people decide, oh, I'm gonna put him in this amazing story that I have planned.
yeah.
Like he's just somebody that somebody made a great story with, and now nobody can touch him.
Yeah. Which is kind of a good thing, though.
It is. It is. But the problem that I have is like, oh, well, I want to know more about Hush. Oh, well, there's not really more you can learn about him. You just need to read this one book and that's him. Like, that's a little disappointing in my mind.
I agree.
Whereas Jason Todd, he's had so much character development since Robin and now being Red Hood. So
many bad stories too, though.
He's had so many bad stories, yes. But as far as character development, I feel like there's at least one thing in each run that you could really carry on with the character to be like, okay, this is a learning experience that he has taken with him. So in the aspect of that, I will choose Jason Todd, but in the aspect of actually fighting, I might have to go Hush.
The only reason why I'm going with Hush is because Jason Todd, out of a majority of the Bat family, has gotten his ass handed to him the most. Like, he gets his ass kicked a lot. Batman's beat his ass. Like, he's had a lot of stories, but he's like failed a lot. Like, he is the failure of the family, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And like, I love him. I think his current design is garbage, but his classic design, I think, is great. But dude, like Todd, just go look at 3 Jokers as recent as that. Like, he was getting his ass beat in that too. So I would think that it's because he can't control his anger, right? So everybody's able to use that against him. And just knowing how conniving and crazy Hush can be, I think he would be able to turn the tables on Jason Todd. So that's why I would go with Hush. And as for Nightwing and Catwoman, now they've had interactions before, and there has been like one story where Catwoman, like, I guess, kind of really hit on him, or didn't. I remember that they're like stuck up in the rafters, and they're like being shot at or something. She's making definitely some sexual comments, but I don't
Uh-huh.
remember if it's like she prefers Batman over him or she's like trying to just make him uncomfortable. I don't remember how the context of it goes. But I think Nightwing is the only person that is suitable to take over for Batman. So I would say Nightwing over Catwoman. Like easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
So I love Catwoman, but I mean, come on, I'm not biased in that point. Nightwing will beat our ass. Let's see. Clay says, speaking of origin stories, what is the origin story of Batman News Weekly? I'm kind of a late listener. Well, Clay, we welcome you. We don't care if you jumped on episode 200 or episode 1. But so the origin story of Batman News Weekly was I always wanted to start a podcast. Clay has a billion podcasts.
Not
So,
anymore, but I
well, he
did.
did at one point. Like he was the podcast man. Um, and I had always wanted to start a podcast. I had been on a couple with friends of just like talking about life. And at the time, I was running a Batman channel. And I was like, I'm going to start a podcast and do the YouTube stuff at one point. Well, the reason why, if you've never noticed, we talk about Tom King a lot on this podcast, even when he doesn't have a Batman story going, is because what was it? Issue 70, no, is what issue 78, 79? When does Alfred break his neck? That was what started this. When Bane broke Alfred's neck.
76? I'm going to double check.
Yeah. I feel like 76 is when Nightwing gets shot. Could be wrong.
Oh, that's true.
You know, I feel like that's, I don't know. Maybe it's like 81. I don't know. Whenever Alfred got his neck snapped, I'm losing the actual issue, but that is when we started. I had read that issue and I was like, oh fuck, I have to talk about this. Like, I just need to talk about this issue of Alfred dying because it was such a big moment. And so I asked Clay, I was like, dude, I think this is a perfect time to start my podcast. And I was like, do you want to be the first guest on it? Clay was like, yeah, I'm down. And we talked about Alfred on the podcast. After that, I did
Spoiler warning, the following article contains major spoilers for Batman 77. I was one off.
Close. Yeah, okay. But what's his name got shot on 76, right? Or did he get shot in 75?
I think it may have been 75 because of an anniversary special.
Yeah.
Let me double check that one too.
Interesting. Anyways, I did 2 more episodes by myself after that, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, let's see if Clay just wants to be a co-host on it going forward. And he was down. We were working together at the time, I'm pretty sure. And so, yeah, we would just, get off work and be like, all right, we're going to record this week. And that's kind of it. So we always kind of pay homage to Tom King here because he was kind of the reason why this podcast started. And it was just to like talk about everything Batman. Like I just wanted to talk about everything Batman. And I found it so much easier to do that in a podcast form than making separate YouTube videos about everything Batman was doing. And this podcast kind of essentially killed my Batman channel too, because I didn't want to talk about double content. I was like, fuck it, they can listen to the podcast. And that's kind of what happened. So that is the origins of this podcast that has been going on year 4 now. So pretty crazy stuff.
So it does, excuse me. It does look like Batman 55 was when Nightwing got shot. Nightwing 50 was the resolution to that, like
yes,
finding out like he survived. And then
so 56 is the issue where Batman's in the snow.
Yep.
Going after. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because yeah, it does seem 75 would be way too late in the story. Yeah, because it actually makes sense because I'm pretty sure 77 and 78 are the Clayman stories that I really loved on the beach. So yeah. There's that. Alexis Barrera, thoughts on the Bat credit card? Is it actually that cringe, or was it just the execution? I think it's more useful gadget than, say, back shark repellent. In the context of that movie, I don't think it's cringe because the whole movie is super campy.
Yes.
Looking back on it, it's cringe, but
for
you have
sure,
to see the whole movie.
Because again, like in the instance of like, because one thing that you always see randomly, like Bendis forgetting that Damien is a vegan, and making him eat hot dogs.
Yeah.
You see random superheroes eating on top of rooftops, or eating in a park, or randomly whatever. You're like, okay, well, how'd they pay for that, right?
Yeah.
Do they have their wallet just like stashed in their costume or whatever, or are they walking up and be like, hey, I just saved some people, can I have some free food or whatever?
Yeah.
Being cheapskate or whatever. um I think that, like, if we ended up seeing in comics like Batman pull out a credit card, and we find out that it's a like random Queen Industry funded thing,
Yeah.
or like Oliver Queen has like a bank that like helps fund a little bit of like something like that for them to use in emergencies.
Yeah.
Because again, if you see Batman use something that is like attached to Bruce Wayne's name,
Mhm.
people are going to start assuming again, oh, Bruce Wayne is Batman, right?
Yeah.
But if you throw something like Oliver Queen or another billionaire or somebody within the DC universe that has a big like bank company, like, okay, this could make sense because
Yeah.
superheroes need funds for whatever,
Yeah. Well,
randomly.
technically, before Bruce lost all his money, in Incorporated, Bruce was willingly talking about how he was helping out Batman. So, I mean, yeah, you could tie that stuff. The rumors would always be there, but I'm pretty sure there was a storyline at one point where Bruce Wayne said he was funding the Batman because he approved of his vigilantism or whatever. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I definitely would go a different route to where it wouldn't be traced back to Bruce Wayne. I think that's a better way to go about it.
for
But I
sure.
don't think, with today's technology and obviously this being comic books, you don't need cards anymore because you can do the RDF readers or whatever, where you just tap shit. So he'd probably have it in his glove, like beep beep, like there you go, paid for it. You know what I mean? So I think it would be something along those lines. But yeah, I don't think it is as cringe as people say it. I think it's just one of those memes online now to where people can go around and kind of make that joke. But
Yeah.
it's what's going to happen is in 20 or 30 years from now, people are going to look back on a lot of these MCU jokes and think they're extremely cringe. The people that love them now,
Oh yeah.
because some of them are super cringe. So, but right now everybody's in love with the MCU, so they're not going to hate on it. But and then you'll have everybody being like, "Well, actually, it wasn't that cringe. You got to think about the time it was coming out." Everything repeats itself over time. So, last question we got. While I believe some are throwing this pregnant Joker out of proportion since it was just an attempt to emulate the 70s campiness, I feel like it could have been done better. Speaking of which, do you think DC re-releasing 60s through 70s Batman comics with some edited or modern illustrations to introduce them to newer audiences, would that be a good idea? Why or why not? So two separate questions here. What are your thoughts on the Joker pregnant thing, by the way? We kind of talked
I
about this.
We kind of talked about it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Matthew Rosenberg was like, "Hey, look, I was." He made a comment about this made national news,
Yeah.
international news. Sorry, and he was like, "Oh, look at that! People taking my story out of context. Whoop de doo."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
it's all out of context. Everything I've seen on Twitter of people bitching is clearly people that didn't read the fucking story.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so I don't care that much about it. But knowing Matt's writing style,
Mhm.
I I could totally see it happening. And
Yeah.
you know, with it being the way that it was, Zatanna playing a prank on him or whatever, like it's whatever. Uh it's not something that is super intricate to like, you know, Joker is legitimately going to have a child and this child is actually going to change the DC universe forever,
Yeah.
you know? Uh it's just a silly story in the back of a book,
Yeah.
and people need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah. I'm more interested in his female Dom stuff that he has in every one of those issues. I want to know that story, Rosenberg. As for the re-releasing of 60s and 80s, I've actually thought about this before. I've actually thought about is it more morally acceptable reprinting is fine, but could you redraw old stories?
No. I've thought about this as well, and I think that it's with how much people today
Mm-hmm.
are fighting for credit on their own
Yeah.
work. We have this whole debacle over AI right now,
Mm-hmm.
which has become like a big thing within the artist community. Um, but you know, even with movies, these creators, these artists are helping these companies create brand new characters. And then these characters are being introduced into movies and they don't get lickety split other than a hey, thanks guys for giving us, this material to make so much money and you get
Yeah.
to see none of it. Like that's kind of shit. And the dude who created Thanos, I don't know if you know this.
Yeah. Yeah. He
He
didn't get paid
also
shit.
created he also got he also created KG Beast, and he got more money from WB for KG Beast being in Batman versus Superman than Thanos did throughout the entire MCU.
Yeah, that's insane.
Absolutely insane. Um, so for that instance, I understand that there's some artists that might already be gone and past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from the 60s all the way through the 80s. But I think keeping that preserved and keeping it special in that sense is something that you need to do.
Yeah.
There are, I thought this was really cool. What they do in Marvel comics, uh, there was some X-Men comics whenever they did like a flashback, the artists would do the Kirby crackle, the little
Mm-hmm.
dots, um, and emulate older style of art.
Yeah.
Uh,
King's done that a lot with his stuff.
yeah,
King's referenced old stuff and had the new artist draw that as the memory.
yeah.
So it's that I think that's the only way you get away with it. But redrawing a whole story, I don't think is good, and I don't think people should do it. Granted, if I have the money to do it, I am getting Clayman to redraw
I
3 books.
I will say this. I saw a TikTok today
Mm-hmm.
that somebody was like, "Hey, I actually hired a real Toei 2D drawer
Mm-hmm.
animator to redraw Gohan from the recent movie that me and you went to go see."
Yeah.
God damn, it looks so good in 2D.
Does it?
Like, yeah,
Nice.
like it's just a freeze frame. It's not an actually like animated thing. It's
Yeah.
literally just a freeze frame of a certain scene. And dude, I miss 2D animation so much.
Yeah. It's so insane. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I think you just reprint those books, maybe with a brand new cover, or maybe like an homage of like a new cover. I don't know. I think you got to preserve that kind of stuff for sure, because that is somebody's legacy, you know?
I don't think it would be that big of a deal because again, we have homage covers, right?
Yeah.
If you decide, hey, we're going to reprint this book with an homage cover
Mhm.
instead of the original cover as like just like a special edition,
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because
they I feel like they've redone the Killing Joke art many times for those books,
yeah.
you know. But it's always the same on the inside. So
Mhm.
it just looks more modern on the outside, but the inside is still the original art. So I think you do something like that. But yeah, I won't lie. There are stories I would love that would be redrawn. Like, could you imagine like Crisis on Infinite Earths being redrawn today? Like,
Oh, I think it would be amazing.
yeah, but
Uh
it would be fucking
seeing
hard to read. Like,
like
still,
oh well
it would be an
nobody could.
omnibus size instead of the little
Well, no,
like
you couldn't. There's no way because freaking oh my gosh, I forgot his name.
Kirby. No,
No,
it's not Kirby. No.
George.
Yeah.
He he was like the master at putting as many characters as possible into one panel.
Yeah.
Uh, and you don't get that today
Yeah.
because the one thing that you do get uh in those scenarios is a whole bunch of outlines and no detail. And so it just looks like a whole bunch of people. But when you really look down and see, you'll just see like 2 dots and a smiley face.
Yeah.
Like that's basically it.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think it would be something that would be done. But yeah, I think doing the new covers and stuff like that would be something. And I think you gotta have, I think who are some of the better writers today that are introducing old stuff? Like I know Johns is doing it, King is doing it. Like they incorporate the classic story into like their modern day. We'll be talking about it next week, but John Williamson is trying to do that with his Bane story. And there are other people that are kind of introducing like, oh, this was a classic Batman story. You should check this out. Granted, he doesn't execute it that well because like he doesn't do it the way like King and Johns write it into their story where they actually show the old panels and stuff,
Yeah.
So he's just kind of referencing a story. But I think there needs to be more of that where writers do reference the classic stuff. But then it gets into that weird, like, again, I wish we could all agree as comic people that continuity is something that is ever changing, and we're just going to pick the best things of a character, and those are going to withstand the test of time, right? Because I think the moment somebody references like the old Batman stuff, people were like, "Oh, well, everything that happened in the back in those 40s issues are canon now because they reference it." I'm like, no, it's just that moment in time. That's the only thing that's canon is that moment. But I don't know. Some people get a little too literal with comic stuff. I've had those discussions on Twitter, and it makes me want to delete the app. So yeah, but that is all the questions for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, if you listen to us on YouTube, you can drop your questions down in the comment sections down below, or you can actually join the Discord and drop some questions when Clay actually asks. So go ahead and do that. So there is that. But we are moving on to comic reviews now. And let's start off with Danger Street, because I think that, is not like it doesn't have Batman in it. So let's just knock that out of the way now. But it's also, again, I mentioned this on the first time we reviewed Danger Street. It is one of those stories that I'm not very well versed in the characters. So it's going to take me a little bit to get really into it. I'm liking the story, but I don't feel for the characters yet because I don't have a personal connection.
And that's the same for me. This isn't really moving the needle. As far as interest and as far as like, oh, I'm really compelled to read the next issue. Now the thing is there something there possibly? Yeah, I get it. We finally see some recognizable characters here. That of Darkseid. I know Creeper was shown very quickly in the last issue. He's shown here again, probably the same amount of time within this issue as well. But I'm kind of waiting for the big drop that Tom King usually does for me to be like, oh, that's why I should be reading this book. You know?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And like I was reading this one, I read this one and Human Target back to back, and like Human Target is just like, oh, such a good fucking story. Like I'm just like waiting for the next issue every time I read Human Target. But it's also like that book started off with Batman in it, right? And like the story just gets you like that. Like you don't need to know shit about Human Target. Like it was a solid, because it started off with Lex Luthor and like the Justice League of America and all that kind of shit. So like you knew recognizable characters. These are just a bunch of, like I've said in the Discord, characters that nobody knows or cares about, right? Like they're not household names, and not to the majority of people is what I'll say. And so like as I'm reading this story, I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Why should I care about these characters? And King is doing the classic thing where he's telling a story within a story, or he's telling a story through the perspective of somebody telling a story, because we know that the narrations in this book are coming from the helmet. The helmet is telling the Dr. Fate's helmet is telling a story. And so he is kind of giving us like what is happening with everybody. And I don't know. I think I'm interested to see who the helmet is talking to, because I don't think he's talking to the characters that we know have the helmet right now.
Yes,
So,
I think that that is one of the bigger reveals. Now the
yeah.
question is that reveal on issue 5 or is that the issue 11 reveal?
Yeah. I feel like we'll get that reveal earlier because, like, King doesn't wait. I mean, unless it's this mini series, right? Like the mini series, you get the big reveal at the end. But I feel like these 12 issue maxi series, we usually get like, if there is a hidden character, we usually get them like in the first 5 issues. And then you're like, okay, now we know the hidden character, but where's the story going to go now? Because I think the big thing is I kind of hate when a lot of people make you wait 12 issues for the mystery character and then you're like, that's who it was. Like, okay. Because like if
Yeah.
you put everything into the mystery character and it's not a banger, then I think it hurts the story a lot. And I
Yeah,
think
it
King
does.
kind of knows that, and he's just like, let me reveal early and then show why they're a part of the story, which I think is good, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, like that's a good way to tell a story. So I'm interested to see where that's going to go. But yeah, I will say that again, I have no vested interest in any of these characters yet, but I am interested to see why, you know? And I'm interested to see, like, I'm interested in the fucking little rascals that they got in here and seeing they're like, we're going to kill some people. I'm like,
No,
okay, I want to, are
and
they going to kill some
that's the
people?
thing. It seems like everybody that we're involved in with this
Yeah.
story is either killing or wanting to kill or like it like there is a lot of death in this issue.
Yes.
For a issue that we're not like really super invested in yet. Uh we have the kids planning the death of whoever killed their friend.
Yeah.
Then we see the creeper and a whole bunch of torture, right? Then we see this random incident um with this oil rig
Hmm.
blows the fuck up and kills a lot of people there. And then
You
there's
mean the
these
boat? Oh, no, the oil rig. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I
yeah,
remember.
and then there's these kids on the phone and a character that I feel like I should know. I don't have any clue who this is. Has a giant V on his suit.
Yeah,
Um
he gives off what's his name's vibes, but it's not him from my understanding. The guy in Peacemaker, Vigilante,
yeah.
kind of looks like that, but I don't think it's him. So,
Yeah, I don't think it's him either. But he kills this hostage that this kid has. Um and it's just like holy shit, there's a lot of death and I feel like I should be worried about this, but again, I don't know what's happening.
yeah.
So I'm going to have to pick up the pieces later on in the story.
Yeah. And we'll find that out. I mean, I think this is one of those, again, it's going to be a slower burn, but as King does, like, it's usually, depending on the story, I think there are going to be moments like Human Target, like I'm just waiting issue to issue. But I think something like Strange Adventures, if you read that from beginning to end, it's a fantastic fucking story. But that was like bi-monthly at one point. So it was
Yeah.
like I already forgot what happened in the previous issue. So it's just kind of how it is. Some of King's books are sit down and read in one go. And I think this is going to definitely be one of those. But we'll have to wait and see where it goes from there. Moving on to the next book. I didn't read this book because we obviously dropped it a long time ago. But apparently there was some new like Bat women in Batman Incorporated. I don't know if you saw that, but there's like some new Batman female ladies.
Oh,
Kind of cool.
really?
But other than that, that's kind of all you got to know. I didn't read that story. Don't care about that story. But let's move on to Lazarus Planet. I don't care about this book. Here's one thing I noticed, Clay. One thing I noticed. Don't really give that much fuck about magic in DC. I don't
I
really care
mean,
that much.
and the thing is, for you told me this as soon as as soon as we became friends, really,
Yeah.
is if it's not Batman, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And
Most of
retrospect
the time.
most of the time, and retrospectively, it's just like, okay, Batman usually doesn't deal with magic. So
Yeah.
why the fuck should I care about magic? And this is all about magic. So I
Mhm.
understand why you would not care about this.
Yeah.
Um and I'm going to have to almost say you don't have to, but here's the issue. There is a huge clickbaity article this week that I posted in Discord. Uh that stated Mark Waid is changing magic in the
Yeah.
DC universe forever. And I don't know if I read the same issue that they did. I don't remember anything absolutely like, oh my God, I can't believe the magic users now have to go through this,
Yeah.
you know? Um, this is a very weird book, and I will be completely honest with you. Do you know what vibes this book gives me?
That shitty Bendis run.
Yes.
What is it? Alzaris or not?
Uh,
What were they called?
they were fuck, I can't even remember the name.
Yeah, they're shitty.
Shit.
Uh,
Um,
Archimedes or some weird. It was some weird ass name. They were one of the people. They're not like they're not the League of Assassins. They're it's not Lazarus. It's something like that. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
I
Or fucking forget the name.
I can't
But yeah, it's
remember.
some organization.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it was another organization. It was so stupid because it was an organization that was like their mission was to destroy every organization within DC.
Yeah.
Within the
Yeah.
DC universe. I can't remember the name
It's
of it.
funny because they're actually in that Catwoman anime movie, and I'm forgetting their name because I just saw it. But yeah, I forget what it's called.
And like
But
the
yeah,
big thing was like having Manhunter in there and shit. That was just so stupid.
yeah, it was dumb. Arcadius, no. I feel like we could be here forever, but anyway,
Leviathan.
there you go, Leviathan. Yeah, it
Leviathan.
was a serpent of some kind.
This gives me Event Leviathan vibes. Hardcore.
Yeah,
Because you have random characters that are unfortunately not being used that much within your normal books at DC, that of Supergirl, Power Girl, Blue Devil, Zatanna, Blue Beetle, Cyborg. We have Mary Marvel, or I don't know if she's called Mary Marvel in here anymore, but
yeah,
she has the Champion of Shazam book, so I'm not entirely sure why like they feel the need to put her in this story. But they're on this big mission to like save the world because of I didn't even know Nisa's son's name until the very end of this book.
yeah.
And his
Hell
name,
something. The Hell
it's
Boy.
it's some Hell Green Bull or something.
Yeah, it's stupid.
King Firebull
Yeah,
is his name.
yeah.
And the more and more I think about it, Mark Waid
Mm-hmm.
is the same as Bendis.
Oof. Ouchies.
But here's the way that he gets away with it. Bendis took one of the biggest characters
Mm-hmm.
of DC and said, nobody's allowed to touch him, and I get to do whatever the fuck I want with him.
Yeah.
Whereas Mark Waid said, hey, I'm going to get both of the most popular characters. Y'all can do whatever the fuck y'all want with those characters. I want to have fun with mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his fun with World's Finest. People loved it because of Dan Moore's art
Yeah.
and the wackiness of it not being continuity. And then all of a sudden it became continuity, and people were like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
But I still think a lot of people read the book or are still reading the book as its own little adventure, as like
Yeah.
not
I
something
agree.
that's super consequential. But when you look at these types of stories, Wade, slow the fuck down.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
What is going on and what
I didn't know what was going on in Batman versus Robin.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was fucking crazy as hell. And it makes me worried about going to read his old stuff, but I know that Snyder used to write really good shit too. So I'm like, okay, maybe Wade's old stuff will actually be good. But if it's anything close to this, I'm gonna fucking hate it. So I hope it's not. But anyways, here's one thing that I saw, because you posted that thing from Twitter about this changing the universe or whatever. I saw somebody posted this panel, and I don't know what it's from, but somebody was like, I always like this explanation of magic in DC. And it has like Constantine Zatanna and all these people fighting Dr. Manhattan. I don't remember if this happened in Doomsday Clock or not, but it's Dr. Manhattan talking about magic. And he's all like, you all believe you're wielding magic. He was all, I must perform a deeper analysis, but I feel this power you are harnessing is in reality the scraps of creation, like the random errors in a computer code discarded and forgotten, left to be picked up and used by those who also find themselves discarded and forgotten. Magic. I thought that was interesting. Magic is part of creation.
Yes,
I
so
think,
this was in Doomsday Clock. I believe it was issue 8 or 9. It
okay.
was when they all decided to go to Mars because he was waiting.
Mm,
And they made like a pocket dimension on
yeah.
Mars where they like tried to like slow him down or fight him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a cool explanation. I don't remember that at all because Doomsday Clock is still not in a hardcover that I can buy and read, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, we had to wait like 4 years to get the deluxe of City of Bane. I don't know why that took forever. So I'm still waiting for Doomsday Clock. But yeah, Lazarus Planet, Batman becomes a demon in this at one point. That's the one thing I saw, and I was like, I don't care. It just seems like there's too much going on, man. Like, and I think that's why I like to like, and it's weird too because it's not that I hate magic or I don't care. It's just magic can be so OP and wild that I'm just like, meh, like it's just it could do anything. And I think that I don't feel like there's any stakes. You know what I mean? I would be interested in somebody like Zatanna losing her magic and maybe trying to learn how to get it back. Like that would be an interesting story for me.
Well,
But
and here's your the example to what you just said. Within the last 3 years,
mhm,
I'm pretty sure both Zatanna and Constantine have both died and now they're back.
yeah, it's so
Due
easy for them to come
due
back.
to magic. They
Oh,
died
really?
because of magic and they were brought back because of magic. It
Yeah.
wasn't because of like a crisis level event that brought them back. No, it
Hmm.
was due to magic on both ends. Like Zatanna basically sacrificed herself in one of the stories that I believe uh Tynan was actually writing.
Okay.
It was like the Justice League Dark
Oh, but Tynan would
story.
just kill people and bring them back next
Yeah.
issue.
But like that was it's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um and for both of them to happen like back to back, it was just like okay. Uh and so I totally get that. I get the fact that like there could be almost no consequences.
Yeah.
Because you always have the very famous line of like magic always costs something.
Yeah.
There's always something bad that's going to happen with the use of magic. And it's like, is it really? Yeah, there will be like a giant demon that you have to fight for like 30 issues.
Hmm.
Uh, but we all know you're gonna win. It's just like whatever, you know?
Yeah, and Magic's like the butt of the jokes too, right? Like I know I saw King talk about this in an interview. He said the running joke at DC when there's like continuity errors in stories is to be like, Dr. Manhattan did it. And like they would ask their editors, like, can we use Dr. Manhattan in the story? And the editors would be like, no. And so like they just Dr. Manhattan's apparently extremely protected at DC. Um, which is wild because like we've seen more Manhattan in DC Comics than we've seen Phantasm. So like Phantasm must be like on a super S tier list of like cannot use unless story is awesome.
Yeah.
Um but like yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Again, I don't care for what Wade's doing and it seems like we're going to be getting a lot of Wade going forward. He must be the head of DC right now when it comes to writing because
I
there's a
don't think
lot.
he is though. I don't think he is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that again, it may be a Bendis, situation
Mhm.
where they kind of like, hey, we paid a lot of money to get you back in DC. So we'll just give you all these books because you'll have to write that much in order for us to even make our money back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it sucks. But I mean, Bendis did the same thing. Like all of his events were garbage. And yeah, I don't know. Lazarus Planet. I mean, I haven't been excited for Lazarus Planet since it got announced. Like, I'm
Yeah,
excited to see
ever
Dawn
since
of
we saw
DC.
the Fate helmet on
Yeah.
Batman, we were just like, no.
And they did it for like one. It was a few panels. You're really selling me on that? Like you're putting like on every cover and shit too. Like
Yeah.
it's not even part of it. If you had to like, if you were telling the story that the Fate helmet wouldn't let Batman go, like Batman wanted to get away from it, like that's a good story. Like it's because like apparently it does that to everybody it takes over, right? Like you are now part of that helmet, and the helmet will not let you go unless you die. And so like that would be interesting to see how Batman gets out of that situation. But yeah, I don't know. Don't care for this story. I saw he was a demon, and I saw Robin trying to do a bunch of shit too, and I was just like,
Yeah,
don't
like
care.
Ramen.
Ramen, delicious.
Robin was basically the Batman in this book,
Yeah,
giving everybody orders. And like Wade made it a point to like basically make Batman say, you can trust Damien. Like he makes the rules now. Like you listen to him, basically. Um, and I don't really need that. Like I
yeah,
think the best thing about Damien is when he kind of falls into those situations because you're not expecting him to, like, for the longest time we were never expecting him to be the great leader that he could be in Titans, right?
yeah,
In the Teen Titans. And every single time that he was a part of the Teen Titans, they always made him an asshole again. And like for this, it kind of feels like it's forced upon him,
hmm,
and it's forced upon us to be like, oh, Damien's going to be this great leader through this whole Lazarus Planet thing. We love him. Like,
yeah.
nah, I don't really feel it.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't make me care for him in all of those damn issues that you were putting out there. Like he was still kind of being a little dick. So like, Damian has a big problem for DC at times because I don't think anybody knows how to really write a good, compelling Damian story. I think his best stories were in Super Sons when he was learning to live like or be friends with John. Like those were some of the best Damian stories. But I don't know. Everybody always makes him the angsty shithead kid. And
Yeah.
like, you know, we see how far that got Red Hood, you know, not very far.
Well,
So,
and again, like I liked it for his introduction,
mhm.
but I need character growth. I don't need a character solidified in this one aspect of his life because it's just boring.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Much like this issue. So, that's Lazarus Planet. We will keep you posted on any other weird shit Batman gets into. He's already had the Fate helmet and now he's a demon. So, we'll see. He also died. Let's not forget that. He died.
Yeah.
And they threw him in the Lazarus pit. So, he should be evil, which I think is why the demon was able to take him over so fast. But let's see how they get out of that because this is apparently continuity now. So Batman has died, and yeah, I don't know. Doing that had already made me hate it too. So it is what it is. Let's knock out Human Target, and then we will end with Adventures Continues because I do want to talk about the ending of Adventures Continues. But yeah, Human Target. First of all, you are the resident comic book reader here. Is this a new lantern or is this a lantern that's been around before?
This is a lantern that has been around before.
Okay.
He actually is in several episodes, I believe several, if not just one episode of Batman Brave and the Bold.
I
Uh
thought this was just Tom King writing Mitch Gerard's into a book.
that's what a lot of people
Yeah.
have said. It does definitely look like Mitch. Um I I like this character. This character was a bit much in this book.
Yeah.
Um there was a lot of literal vomit and word vomit in this
Yeah.
book. Um and because of that, I think it
But
is a
that's
little
how
bit of
drunks are though.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was a bit much for me. So if I had high hopes for it as far as like the story in total, it would have to be knocked down because of how wordy this book was.
Okay.
It did hurt it a little bit. But I did like it. Um but I don't like the implications of what it means for the future of this story. I feel like now it's a little bit predictable. Of course, Juice could not wait whatsoever.
Nope.
And oh, that's something that we haven't announced yet. We got cleared, and we do have a green check next to our name, and we will
Yeah.
have the books for a whole nother year. So thank you, DC, for giving us the opportunity to read books in advance and just have this knowledge and to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But you are impatient and you've already read the next issue.
Yeah.
Uh
Hey,
but
man.
I feel like because of what happens in this book and the implications that Chance is kind of giving off at the end of this book, uh I kind of have a scenario in my mind. Of course, you cannot react to it
Yeah,
um
obviously.
on air. Um but I'll even talk to you after we stop recording to even see if I'm right. But overall, like, how did you feel about this book? Other than Nart, I think that's his name, Nart being a drunk and all of this other stuff. Like, how'd you fare for this book?
So I like the character, but I've never seen this character before. Again, like I don't read. I've read Green Lantern, but I've never seen this character.
Yeah,
So I was just all like, okay, is this a new character? Did Tom King just create? Because like I feel like when it comes to the lanterns, that's like the easiest characters you could create for. They're like, oh yeah, he's a lantern. Like I feel like you could just make a new character be a lantern easily because the lanterns are basically space police. And so I was like, all right, interesting. I had no problem with this. My thing is we know from the last issue, which was the Batman issue, which I think was really, really awesome, that we were questioning is fucking Guy alive? Because that's what Chance came up to, because Chance was talking about or Chase. It's Chase, right?
yeah,
Um,
Chase.
Chase was all, if he was dead, Batman would know, and Batman would be coming after us. So there's a problem. Like, he's not dead. Now, unfortunately, it was kind of spoiled for us that we knew the outcome of this in Discord because Drew talked to fucking Mitch Gerards himself, and Mitch Gerards was like, "Oh, that's not what it seems," and Drew was like, "Oh, I know what happens now." I'm just like, thanks for not fucking putting a spoiler mark on that. I didn't want to know this fucking story. So I kind of already knew. Now, granted, I thought there would probably be something. Tom King has killed people before. He killed Alfred. Alfred is still dead. So,
Yeah,
like, I could see him killing Guy Gardner, and I would be okay with it because I don't give a fuck about Guy Gardner. But, like, King also always has an out to, like, do something drastic in his story, but then make it okay, right? Like, he had a way to bring back Alfred. And he
yeah.
was all like, they were like, no, leave him dead. And he was like, okay. And he's still dead today. And so,
No,
like, I figured he could have brought back Guy. Like, that could have been predictable, but I liked not knowing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, kind of knowing that Guy was already like, he's going to get brought back because we heard about it. I was like, so the reveal wasn't too crazy, but hearing about what happened and seeing how Chase like dealt with him again, like when he took his ring off, I thought was kind of cool because it was very Batman-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm actually going to share with you, Juice, my
Mhm.
screen here to show you one of the first appearances of Nort. Um,
Nice.
this is what he looks like classic, but recently he was in a story of Future State,
Hmm.
and that's him in Future State.
God damn. Jesus. I like the classic version. I don't know why they had to make him look like Hulk and shit. Like,
He
what the
looked like a
hell?
freaking werewolf, man. He just
Yeah.
this was so jarring when this came out. People
Yeah.
were like, "Holy shit, is that him?" And like you see here on our screen, of course, the listeners, you
Yeah.
cannot.
We're
Um,
looking at a Google search of Nort
he
images.
has been in, like I said, Batman Brave and the Bold. He has been a part of Justice League Action. He has been a character that has been out there before.
Yeah.
So when I saw him being a part of the story, I didn't mind it. And I did like how like because for one, like you can't go to any other lantern on Earth
Hmm.
and convince them, hey, you know that top secret file like room that you have on everybody in the known galaxy?
Yeah.
Take me there. You know,
Yeah.
you can't say that to Hal. You can't say that to Jon Stewart. You know, you can't say that to Jessica or Simon Baz or Kyle Rayner. You just can't.
Yeah.
So getting somebody like Nort, it's very easy to just kind of have that there.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that. Um, the thing about Guy, again, yeah, we understood a small spoiler to us that it wasn't all that it seemed. And when we read issue, what was it, 9, we were like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
And then the very beginning of this issue, Chase is like, hey, this or he said, Ice knows that Guy is alive,
Hmm.
and I need to understand why she knows.
Yeah.
So it like because at the very end of 9, he says, oh, it must mean that Guy is alive.
Hmm.
So it was a weird, like, I can't remember the exact word, but it sounded like Chase knew he was alive.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of this one, it sounded like it was a surprise to him, but not a surprise to Ice. But he knows that Ice knows, but Ice doesn't know that he knows.
Yeah.
Very confusing.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
like the
just like,
Friends episode.
so it's
Everything
just
goes
like,
back to Friends.
so it's just like, okay, what are the implications to this? What does it mean and everything else? So we go back, we see that everything up to Guy's actual quote unquote death
Hmm.
is in his file, along with this fake alert that both the human target and Ice submitted to, play along with their little plan, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then randomly we see the human target want to see his file, and we get to see a little bit of his backstory, his father, his mother, the countless killings that he's done.
Yeah.
It goes all the way until like last week and then yesterday. Like I really like that. And then you see like a zoomed out panel, and you see his file is so fucking thick.
Yeah.
It is like bursting with green energy pages because it's all like holographic or whatever. So I really enjoyed those moments of this book. Actually seeing Guy when he pops up in the bar, I
Hmm.
really love this because of what King wrote here. It says here, Kevin and Keith's. He says a pool joint downtown that's been closed for repair for the last month. About 20 minutes drive from where I saw guys burst into 1,000 pieces. That's how much he cared. The whole universe opened to him, and and that's how far he ran. 20 fucking minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good writing.
I really enjoyed that because like he Guy is the kind of person in this story where it's just like, oh, I could go anywhere, but I don't give a fuck
Yeah.
about my life, about the people around me, and I definitely don't care about this human target guy. So whatever
Yeah.
whatever.
Just want to drink
Uh,
and play pool. He's an asshole.
exactly.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's Guy. Like yeah.
Now this fucking punch, man. They're gonna keep memeing this punch with Guy.
Yeah.
It's happened now 4 times, 3 or 4 times in the span of 9 issues,
Yeah.
or 10
Probably.
issues. Because there was the first fight, then there was the second fight that wasn't really a fight because of the car
Yeah.
got hit, and then the third fight was what got him shattered into a million pieces,
Yeah.
and now this one, that's 4. Like he's got his ass handed to him 4 times, and technically because now he has learned that what happened the third time wasn't really what happened. Um, but I don't know if I necessarily like how the Human Target one-ups Guy in the bar, because it's just like, would he necessarily know that? And again, it's semantics, it's nitpickiness of just like, and again, it may have been something that was off panel while he was at OA, literally,
Mhm.
just him learning a few things about the Green Lanterns. But he literally slaps what, peanut butter, or I
Like a
can't remember,
peanut substance on him, yeah.
onto Guy's mouth. What I did like is uh the reasoning why the ring wouldn't save Guy, which is, oh, this asshole is
So
such
prideful.
so
Yeah.
prideful that he thinks telling anybody of any type of quote unquote weakness is below him, and he didn't let Oa and or the ring know that he was allergic to peanuts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had no problem with that. It felt very Batman-y, and I know a lot of people are gonna talk shit about that. Like, that's gonna be the new thing. Oh, King wrote fucking Guy getting knocked out by a peanut allergy. Like, what, dude? That shit kills people like every year.
No,
Like,
and that's totally fine. For me, it's the idea of the Human Target knowing that information as far as the rings part, not necessarily Guy's part.
well, he got it
That's
from the
fine.
file though, didn't he?
Did he get it from the
I
file?
think he gets it from the file, but the rings wouldn't know. Like, the rings would only save them from what the user lets them know, from my
But
understanding.
that's what I mean. Like the fact that this is narration from the Human Target, and he is
Mhm.
telling us, "Oh, if you didn't know, this is how the ring saves people from this." Like, how would
Mhm.
he know that? But like I said, it could have been something that was off panel, whatever. I can
Yeah.
headcanon that, and so it doesn't bother me that much. But I know it could be something that people do pull apart when trying to like say this is like a bad book or whatever.
Yeah. I
So
feel like I think that would go along the lines of people knowing kryptonite is Superman's weakness. Batman doesn't kill. Like, that could easily be a lantern thing that the rings save them from whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I think that could be one of those stipulations. So no, that doesn't bother me at all. I thought it was different. I am always in for creative ways of people getting defeated. And for him to hold a fucking EpiPen over him to get the information he wants, I think is clever as fuck. I'd be
oh
like,
yeah,
I thought that was awesome. And they even show him going to a pharmacy for some reason. And so I was like, why the fuck are they doing that? But it plays into the idea. Maybe he needs to buy something because, he's dying of poison. So maybe he needs some painkillers or whatever. But it was a nice bait and switch. And I thought that was really cool. And then after that, we see Guy do the thumbs up because, to get the EpiPen, he was like, "You're gonna tell me everything that happened, and we're gonna go from there." And then we see at the very ending, we know at the start of the story, Ice got drugged, so Chase could do all of this, right? And he's just kind of telling her like what happened, like he went through that, and he kind of just basically lets her know, like, "I know you're in on this," and she's like, "Oh," and then he was but to us, and they're like toasting, and then we'll see what happens in the next issue. Overall, I think this is such a great fucking story. Like, the Human Target has been so interesting. I think this has been some of the best cliffhangers King has done. Like, the cliffhangers are just really good in this whole series. I don't think Danger Streets are anywhere close to these. What else? And I don't even know. I don't remember. I know Rorschach had some really good cliffhangers, but I don't know if they were as good as these either. I just think like each story, I'm just like, damn, I want to know what's next.
yeah.
So this would definitely probably be one of my probably more favorite King stories, to be honest. Because it's just been fucking every issue like has been pretty solid in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I can't really say much more. I already read the next one, so kind of go from there. But overall, good story. I know that we have some people in the Discord that said they're going to read it after it's completed. So definitely worth reading because it's such a good book. Let's move on to the last book of this week that we are reading. And it is Batman: The Adventure Continues, or Batman the Animated Series: The Adventure Continues, season 3. So Paul Dini is writing this with is it Alan Burnett? I forget the actual other writer's name.
Alan Burnett, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Burnett. So Paul Dini and Alan Burnett returning to write some more Batman the Animated Series. What blows my mind is how Dini still makes this feel like the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, and it's not just the art, it is the writing. Like, I feel like I would watch that in an animated series. The dialogue all works, what Batman would say, what the villains would say. It's so good. And this particular story, I think, introduces a new character named Muscle.
No, he was at the very end of season 2.
Really? Muscle
Yes.
Out?
Yes.
Or whatever his name is?
His name is the Muscle.
I don't remember this.
He was in season 2. They actually referenced the story that happened in this issue. He was going after Montoya in season 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm pulling it up right now. So
I had a lot of fun with this. It does bring back one of my, if not my favorite villain of the Batman animated series in this story. So a great start to season 3. I do agree with you. It wasn't just the art. I did have just all of the other voices from the animated series, RIP, Kevin Conroy, in this with me, and it was great. I absolutely loved it. And again, I love the kind of spin that this has at the near end. And I know you want to talk about it, but Muscle again is a character that was hired by, what is her name?
Vestra or
I can't remember her
yeah,
name.
it's a kind of a it's Valstra. I forget her first name. But I know Penguin talks about it. Oswald. I'm trying to find her actual name. But her last name is Vestra. It's the Vestra family.
Esther Valestra.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to find her, and if they find her, then they can find the ring the crime ring that she's a part of, and all of this. We also see a little bit of her story with her having dinner with Penguin, Black Mask, and even
Rupert
Thorne, thank you. And we get a little crazy side of her as well when she like stabs the food and everything. Really loved all of this. Really chewing up the scenery when I was reading this as well. I love the conversation that Batman has with Alfred when Batman is still like, hey, Muscle is still gonna try something. I don't trust him. I got to make sure that I'm there, even though I wasn't officially invited to the transfer of Muscle. And Alfred's like, hey, miracles happen. He could have a change of heart. And Batman's like, not in this town.
Yeah.
And he freaking drives off.
Because he's like weary of the priest too. Like he doesn't believe the priest is an actual like man of faith, or he doesn't believe that he's maybe like a good priest. And so like that is very interesting. We find out he's not a good priest and that he's working to get Muscle out, but also to double cross him. And he puts him in jail, and he's working with Lockup, which I think was awesome. Which I do find it very funny that Lockup is, Batman calls him out on it. He's like, I like how you're taking the money from the criminals you swore that you'd put behind bars. And but now Lockup is now a prisoner, like a jailer and an executioner, a judge and executioner now. So he kills. He wasn't killing in the animated series, but he kills now because, well, he can't be a guard anywhere. So he's got to do things his own way. So I thought this was really cool. There's this big fight between Lockup and Batman, and he tries to save Muscle, and Muscle punches him. He's like, I just want to make sure you're good as when we first fought. And then Batman punches him back, and he's all like, well, what do you think about that?
And he even has like a little smirk while he's unlocking the cage. I love it, man.
So I thought that was really cool. And essentially, we see Batman and Muscle trying to beat Lockup. Lockup actually gets the best of Batman, and he has him dead to rights. And Muscle comes back, and he's like, I could let the Bat die. Like, I don't need to save him. But, he kind of saved me. Let me go help him out. And he ends up saving his life from Lockup. Batman does Batman-y things with a laser, cuts the floor. Lockup falls to the ground. Police show up and kind of cuff everybody. And this is the very end that I thought was interesting that I want to have a discussion about because Batman is kind of saying like, you had to change your heart. And he was like, they're not going to give you, or Montoya's talking to him. And she's like, oh, hey, there's not going to be any leniency because we were going to have, if you were going to talk, we were going to give you some leniency. But now that you betrayed us, we can't do anything for you now. And he's all like, doesn't matter. I'd rather have Rupert Thorne and all of them go down. Like, I don't care. Like, as long as they pay, like it is what it is.
And then Batman says,
yeah.
Oh, well, I'll make a call.
Yeah. If you want time off, like if you want to try to lower your sentence, I'll make a call. And it shows later, and it shows him getting injected with something. And then we see the Suicide Squad leader, which is Amanda Waller, and she's all, welcome to Task Force X. And
I know why you have a problem with this, though.
Yes. So Batman giving somebody to Amanda Waller who could die in the scheme of Task Force X. Is this something Batman would do? Because it's very contradictive.
It is very contradictive. And here's my outs on these, okay? On the possibility of Batman being okay with this.
Mm.
Again, people will attack me for this reasoning. Again, I'm reaching. I am very far reaching. If the bomb goes off in their head, it's a consequence of a bad guy still wanting to do a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Again, it could easily be Waller being an asshole and being like, oh, you're not following orders to the T. Boom, You're dead. Again, I understand that. But for the most part, Waller is trying to do these missions that do end up somewhat helping, the overall good of whatever mission it is.
Yeah.
So I could see that being a kind of a reasoning of like, okay, if ultimately this person dies, it's because they were still attempting to do a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I gave them the chance to do good and they still didn't take it,
Yeah.
Whatever. Or Batman is allowing Task Force X to actually happen because he has a way of stopping it. And we don't know it yet.
I mean, you would think Batman has a way to do everything, right? So
Yeah.
I don't hate that this happened, but I know it's a conversation people would have.
I definitely questioned it when I saw it. I had to reread his dialogue, and I was like, wait, did Batman give Amanda Waller a call?
Yeah.
Or did Bruce give somebody else a call and then end up getting in the hands of Amanda Waller?
Well, Amanda Waller already knows his identity. So we know that. This is my thought. Well, one, I've always said that I think Batman should have put Red Hood in the Suicide Squad. Like I've already talked about it on the podcast before. So I can't sit here and be like, I think this is really bad. Cause like, I just think like Batman would want to get in on these crime organizations, right? Or these crazy super government agencies to have an in, right? Cause he can't be everywhere as much as he wants to be. This is why I think Batman is okay with it. And I think it's because he knows even if he tries to stop it, it's going to happen no matter what. So he does it as a necessary, I guess, cause. Like, you know how Batman lets the crime scene in Gotham continue because he's able to watch it more? Like that's how he gets information, but he doesn't want people killing, but he allows the selling of like the drugs and all that kind of stuff. Unless it's like happening to kids and shit. That's when he steps in and beats the shit out of some people. But for the most part, he knows crime is going to happen in Gotham. So he lets the lesser known things that aren't going to cause death happen, but he goes after the more serious shit, like the murders and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
So I can see him knowing that somebody like Amanda Waller is never going to stop, even if Batman is on her tail. And so I think he's just like, look, it's either you can sit your rest of your life in jail, or I can make a call and you might be able to do some good. And maybe that's how Batman could use this to his advantage, where he hits up Muscle later and be like, what did you learn while you were in there? You know what I mean? Or like, well, how does she operate? How does she do that? That's how I could see Batman being okay with this. But for the most part, the animated series version of Batman is a lot more lenient than comic Batman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he does try to help out a lot of villains in that series. And, I think comic book Batman is a little bit more brutal and shit like that. So I kind of think that's where it comes from. But I do think this is something that would definitely catch people off guard. And I think it's a conversation starter. And I think some people might hate it. I think some people would be like, oh, he's just sending him to his death. And I'm like, I mean, you could say that about Batman putting Robin and everybody in danger too when he sends kids out there. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where you toe the line with Batman. But, I mean, the person would have to agree to be a part of Task Force X, I think.
Yeah.
So, because I think Amanda Waller gives everybody the option for the most part, right?
How fucked up would that be?
If she
Hey,
did.
you're going to be a part of my Task Force S. What is that? Oh, well, you listen to B, go on missions. You have the possibility of leaving jail early, and I put a bomb in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't sound great. Too bad. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
That would be suck. Yeah. But for the most part, great issue though. Like,
yes,
he's
absolutely loved it.
amazing. Like, he's still so badass. I'm excited to see where this story goes or how it continues. I wonder if he'll do more Task Force X stuff. But I need to check if they have the hardcovers for these because I don't own them yet. Because these have been
Neither
great.
do I. Now, I do believe I was literally just checking it. I am getting, I believe. Oh no, it wasn't on this one. I thought because I have the Lonely City hardcover coming to me sometime this weekend. But I also need to look at season 1 and season 2 to see if I could possibly get them on sale or anywhere. Because we love these. They're absolutely fun. Speaking of Task Force X, last season we had, or was it the first season, we had Deathstroke. They introduced Deathstroke into this universe. So
they introduced Red Hood too, didn't they?
And they introduced Red Hood.
Yeah.
So maybe you can get your story there. But also, like, with the breadcrumbs that we already have of Deathstroke, maybe we'll see him come back as well. I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I'm looking at Amazon right now, and they only have paperbacks, which kind of sucks, man. I wonder if they'll ever do like season 1, 2, and 3 combined, because I don't know how many issues this goes for.
It actually might say on the cover of the book.
Adventure season 2 is 1 through 7, so usually that's how much a regular paperback is.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to have a deluxe version of the Adventures Continues in hardcover. That'd be really nice. But yeah, this is some of the best Batman that you can read, especially if you love the animated series. But for the most part, good comics this week. Is it next week that we finally get to read Catwoman One Bad Day? Or is it?
I think it's next week. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's remember, we're not covering Catwoman anymore. I have skimmed 51, and there's a good reason why we're not covering it.
So Bane is next week. So it's not Catwoman.
Yes. So yeah, we'll be talking about the Bane one. That is the Williamson one that I mentioned earlier. It's a decent read. Definitely some talking points that we'll be able to talk about with that. But that is going to be it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, do you got anything going on this week, man?
Yeah. So on Star Wars Alliance, we are of course reviewing The Bad Batch season 2. Episode 3 was this week, so go check out our review of that. And on Ranger Alliance, we have the which is coming out the Monday after you're hearing this. We are reviewing the first Well, actually, no. We're just doing comics, but we will be soon. Later this month, reviewing the first 5 episodes of Alien Rangers. We're finally out of the original MMPR, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers phase of our rewatch. Dude, I was looking at it, and if we do the way that the way that our format is on that show,
Mhm.
watching 3 episodes every other week and just continuing it until we, we're never going to catch up because there's so
Yeah.
much. That's 13 years worth of content.
Y'all are doing it every other week?
Yeah.
Why you can't? I would do it weekly. I mean, that's crazy. I don't. I find it very hard to listen to a podcast that isn't weekly. Like, there needs to be consistency for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if you, especially with YouTube content, like you have to have something a week, every week, one video for sure. Unless you're like a Mr. Beast or somebody that's like super popular, anybody's gonna watch your video no matter what. I think if you're somebody starting out, consistency is key. So that's pretty crazy to do it every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's just you got to stay fresh in people's minds. That's why I hated when the panic attack stuff happened. I was like, "Fuck, we're gonna be down for like a month. Like, I don't want that." Which kind of really sucked, but it is what it is. Appreciate everybody sticking around. For me, I am gonna be working on. I'm working on the new channel stuff right now. That's what I've been doing for the last couple weeks. The sickness and anxiety shit has fucked me up, put me super behind. But I feel like I'm finally making a lot of progress. My birthday is this weekend. So I might be doing a birthday stream on Sunday because my Dallas Cowboys play on fucking Monday, which I think is dumb. But yeah, I might be doing a birthday stream on Sunday. So feel free to stop by that if you guys want to check that out. Follow the Shorts channel or the Twitch channel because it'll be simultaneously happening at the same time. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.